Welcome back to another episode of the Experts in Fire podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vennard, and with me today is Randy Mowry. Today's episode is Fire Pit Tables, stylish and functional outdoor furniture. Let's get into it. Hey Randy, how you doing, brother?
I am doing fantastic, Mike. How you doing over there today?
I'm good. I think we're actually sitting in the same building today, aren't we?
We are in the same building today. You're up in the King's Suite, and I'm in the basement.
I think you have more windows than I do, buddy. They sold me on the fact that my window was arched. Ooh.
Oh, that's what it is.
Well, Randy, we are here today to talk about fire pit tables. And it was interesting as I was, going through some of the notes and stuff. We're talking fire pit tables. I feel it's important that we kind of give our listeners an introduction to the fact that there's more than just fire pits. So can you kind of walk us through the different categories of what fire pits are?
Fire pits, it gets thrown around as an in general of all things fire. And the fire table category is very specific. I mean, they are literally, they're tables. Think of like a coffee table in your house. Think of a dining table in your house. And maybe somebody has a bar built and they have a bar table in their basement or said sports room. We have fire tables that kind of reflect that same type of thing, and they mimic the indoor ones, but for outdoor with fire in them, Mike.
That's cool. So it's an actual table. What other kind of fire pits are there, though? Are there like low boys? I'm trying to think of technical terms.
When you think of fire pits, like in general, there's you have, of course, like I have a number of contractors that site build fire pits, and then they just buy burners for us, and they're low, maybe like in that 11 to 16 inch high, and it's just a fire pit. Then you have, we have a number of them on our website. You have your turnkey fire pits, and those can be everything from round fire pits to square, rectangle. And those are typically going to be in that lower stature. Maybe you have some Adirondack chairs sitting around the fire pit. So think of I know you have wood burning, and you have a bunch of seats around your wood burning fire pit. I feel that when folks say fire pit, those are the kind of images that run through their mind. Some of the wood burning low, you're sitting around it, and then the gas ones that are sitting super low. So that's why I think this is a great opportunity to talk about specifics, meaning fire pit tables, which is and has a typical specific purpose. And that is for people to sit at them like a table.
Yeah, the function, right? I mean, it's really... I just wanted to kind of I wanted to have you run through, the idea of, hey, I want a fire pit. And we get a phone call from someone that says, hey, we want a fire pit. Or I know you're running around locally working with a lot of landscape pros. You just actually flew in from a meeting this morning to sit down and do this with us. And they say, I want a fire pit. And you have to look back at them and go, could you please define what you mean by fire pit?
Yeah, exactly. It's all. What are you going to use it for? Where is it going, and what are we using it for? That type of thing. Because it is going to depend on the application for sure.
You have fire-related questions, and we have answers. You can email us your questions at podcast@woodlanddirect.com or give us a call at 586-221-3638. We would love to be able to answer them right here on the Experts in Fire podcast. So let's hone in on fire pit tables then. What are some of the things that you can look at and go, here are the benefits, the best aspects of a fire pit table?
Yeah, so when you're looking at a fire pit table, some of the drivers for folks that are looking for a fire pit table for their home, we'll say, is what typically they're want it for that ambiance. It creates a cozy and inviting atmosphere, perfect for people to sit around, nice quiet evenings and just be outdoors. But then they also want the warmth out of it, so the fire pit tables, because it has a burner in it. So it's still going to provide warmth on those cool nights, extending that usability of that outdoor space during those colder seasons. It's, just like today in Michigan, even though it's cool outside, I'll probably fire mine up. Mine's gas when I get home. And then the versatility is the big thing when we're talking fire pit tables. So it is a table. it's going to be used as a table when not used as a fire pit in a lot of cases. Some fire pit tables may have, Mike, for example, like a cover that covers that burner so that it can be used as a full table in just providing that whole functionality for entertaining, just having maybe some coffee and donuts in the morning or dining right at it. So you have that convenience where, unlike your traditional fire pits that are maybe just too low, you don't have that versatility on a traditional fire pit that's only maybe sitting 11, 12, 13 inches off the ground. So, that's just some convenient parts of it. The fire pit tables, of course, they operate off of propane or natural gas, which is nice because they're, again, kind of talking about wood burning, and there's nothing wrong with the wood burning units themselves. But that's one of the things that you don't have to worry about with a fire pit table, especially if you're going to eat up at it, is having to clean it and getting the ashes out of that. Because I've seen fire pit tables that have like a little middle with a wood burner in it. And there's nothing wrong with it. Some folks may want that. They're still out there. It just, with the gas fire pit tables, you have a lot less cleanup. So it's just a lot more convenient to use.
Yeah, I love the convenience of mine. And I think one of the things that we could point out here, Randy, is when you talk functionality, we literally design fire pits here. We work with manufacturers. We work with our close firebrand partners as well, and share market research on what customers are looking for. And you'll notice that a lot of the media, the content built around fire pits, is either here's ambiance and the fire pit is really cool looking, or here's ambiance and functionality. And we talk about it a lot, is that edge. Can you put a couple glasses of wine on there for photography reasons, right? Can you do these certain things? But when you talk about a fire pit table, that is its function, is to be used as a table with the effect of fire in the middle of it, instead of a fire pit that's being used as a fire pit, but we have built in a ledge, an extra wide edge so you can set stuff on it, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. When we talk tables, as far as the usage, like you said, just to use it, at eating at things like that. I mean, you're looking typically, think of, like I mentioned, like you have coffee table sizing height-wise. You have your dining tables at 48-inch diameter, for example, that you can sit around and actually eat at with a fire in the middle. And then, your bar height, we have a bar height in our design center down here that you could, it's a bar height fire pit table that you can probably sit almost 12 people at. So there is a lot of function that goes into fire pit tables as well. And then, of course, we want to make sure they're aesthetically appealing as well. So they're going to come in various designs, the styles, colors, and the overall look. We have pretty much everything that's going to fit the aesthetic of somebody's space, whether that's residential or commercial.
That is so true. We have a lot of options when it comes to design. And that's just props to all of our manufacturers that we work with, being out there and seeing what's going on and trying to kind of fill that gap where people want outdoor furniture. They want an outdoor table. Well, you can blend that fire effect now with that table, and it all blends seamlessly. It's really nice options. So Randy, we talked about the positives of it. It's a table, it has fire. Who doesn't want more things with fire?
Right? No, everybody wants more things with fire.
Everybody wants that.
Everybody wants more things. And I want to give you, so I was at a meeting yesterday and we were talking about fire. Now, this did not come from me. This came from her. And we were talking about fire and fireplaces and gas logs and various things. And she said to me, so what you're telling me, Randy, is you're going to save my marriage by helping me put fire at my house so that I stay warm because my husband always has everything cold. I said, yes, absolutely.
That's it. We are in the business of saving marriages here.
Oh, sorry, sidetracked a little bit, but it was very funny.
No, that's fun, dude. That is fun. So we're going to do that for him in the backyard as well with a fire pit table. We haven't even started talking about how to heat the entire patio, right? So, man.
Right, exactly. That's a whole different episode, with the fire pit tables. And we always want to have safety in mind when we're doing even gas fire pit tables. So just to stress again with everybody, The placement of the fire pit table is still always very important, making sure that your foundation is solid, non-flammable surface, away from any, overhanging structures, trees, clearances, and always refer back to those manufacturers, Mike, because those are still always going to be important.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to talk about safety. It's just a part of who we are. It's what we do, and hopefully you've picked up as a listener of this podcast that when you walk in to someone's yard, you can give them everything they want and it not be right for them and their situation. So it's very important, because most people would think I could put this table here and just light it on fire and not even think of the ceiling fan that's right above it. I have a covered portion of my patio that has a big ceiling fan up above, and it's like I've considered it. I've considered a table, I've considered fire, and I look at that fan and I go, man, I got to get a tape measure out. I got to...
Right. Each manufacturer, maybe they're going to vary a little bit on what their requirements for their clearance, the combustibles are going to be. And just like everything else, fire, we want to make sure, never to leave them unattended. It is fire, so supervision, especially when you have kids around. It's a table and fire combination, and if it's a little bit lower, so we want to make sure that we're paying attention, to the little ones, of course. That's why the other, manufacturer's instructions are always super important, of function, how to turn it off, turn it on, getting it shut off quickly, things like that.
Yeah, and safety features in that as well. In terms of if it blows out, what's going to happen? I mean, if you're a pro out there, then you should be asking yourself that question every time you deal with fire, right? If this blows out, what's going to happen? Bring that to your client as well, because most clients are going to look at you and say, I want to save some money, so let's just go with the match lit version. Okay, that's an option, but you got to ask yourself, what's going to happen if this blows out? And if you can explore that question, then that's going to help you decide what ignition system you're going to want to go with, which I think we've got 2 or 3 podcasts on that.
We do, definitely.
So, yeah, safety on that piece, for sure. And then what about fuel? How can you fuel these things?
Yeah, fuel, propane or natural gas. They can be hard piped. Even if it's what they call a portable table, freestanding turnkey style table, you can use propane or natural gas. Just making sure that it's always connected by a gas professional. Also wanted to touch on with propane. We're very used to using the standard 20-pound tanks that we use for our barbecue grills, swapping them out at your local box store. There are a number of tables in these categories that you can hide that tank inside. Typically, you're going to find, minimum, going to be in that 22 to 24 range high minimum, so that tank can sit inside of it as far as the fuel goes. And then, from a safety standpoint for function while you're using it, we've seen, and, I always recommend some type of glass guard, Mike, a wind guard that kind of goes around that burner. We've seen a lot of those, a lot of ask for those. I would say I would be confident in saying that for our fire pit tables, outside of maybe some custom round, we have a number of wind guards that we can, supply for all of our fire pit tables.
Yep. And I got to say, Randy, I didn't, you and I sold them a long time ago, and then I moved in a different direction in the company. And I've always kind of shrugged my shoulders like, they're cool. They're neat. Well, now I have a fire pit in my backyard, and, I've got a wood burning and a gas burning. And I tell you what, that glass guard is fantastic, even just for the function of the unit. When the breezes come through, and
makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. But it's also, the one I have is lower to the ground, and I have young nephews, so it's that next barrier to them sticking their hands right in the fire, right? Really suggest those. Those are pretty fantastic, especially if it's going to be a place where you're sitting and hanging out. And I got to tell you, dude, I love fire tables, fire pit tables.
They're so nice. And, and that's where those wind guards really come into play, like you were talking about. Now we're using a fire pit table. We're actually pulling up a chair and sitting at it. So that wind guard is going to help isolate that flame, centered, helping reduce some of the wind carry. And I say reduce, it's not 100%. You're still going to get some wind there, but it's helping isolate that and make it safer, so when you are sitting up there, and it actually looks really good, like you said. You get a really nice reflection off the glass with the flame and stuff like that. So they do have a safety, function, and aesthetic to them.
Yeah, I love it. I wanted to tell one quick story as we wrap up here. Ben and I were out meeting with a local landscape company and their designers, and it was a great conversation. And he said one hurdle that they come across, and this is a story for all our pros who are listening out there, is that maybe the gas line, the gas feed to the house is a million miles away. You know what I mean? And they quote, here's your quote, and they go, oh my gosh, well, how much would it be to just cut that fire pit out of there, and then we don't have to run that gas line and blah, blah, blah. And true story, Randy. He said that's usually why fire pits will get cut, is because you have to run that gas line. And Ben and I are just looking at him. We're like, guys, we have tons of fire tables that you just put a propane tank underneath. If they're good with that. And he looked at us like, you do? Like, yeah, we do. I love those kinds of meetings, because they're doing what they're excellent at. We're doing what we're excellent at, and we just need to blend those, mesh those, and it helps everybody, right? So for all of our pros who are listening out there, there are a lot of options when it comes to fire pit tables and fire pits in general. We got to throw that out there as well. So if you guys have questions or needs, or you're just looking at this whole thing going, man, I just need a little something, little impetus to push me over the edge, because it's a great way for you to make more money when you're designing a backyard, is adding this element of fire. Give us a call, reach out anytime. You can ask for Randy directly. Folks will get you to him, but we'd love to take your questions. We'd love to help you out. We'd love to partner with you. Randy, is there anything else you want to throw in there before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered enough bullet points on the fire pit tables for today.
I love it. Well, as always, man, thank you for taking time away. And I know you've shifted positions. Everyone, Randy is now one of our local reps here in Southeast Michigan, running around shaking hands. If you can't tell from his jovial laugh and his voice, he loves people. That's why he and I get along so well. We just love being in crowds.
That's it. Yes.
So he's doing an excellent job there. So if you are in the Michigan in general, feel free to give Randy a call, and he'd love to help you out. And brother, thank you for spending the time with us and with our listeners. I appreciate you, man.
My pleasure. Always love it. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
See ya.